Over the next 4 months, you have a choice to make.
You didn't get there on your own. I'm always struck by people who think, well, it must be because I was just so smart.
So as we were discussing, two really interesting and different ads this week. The first one is President Obama going the high road, talking in the White House about the choice voters face. Let's have a look at that.
Over the next 4 months, you have a choice to make. Not just between two political parties, or even two people. It's a choice between two very different plans for our country. Governor Romney's plan would cut taxes for the folks at the very top, roll back regulations on big banks, and he says that if we do, our economy will grow and everyone will benefit. But you know what? We tried that top-down approach. It's what caused the mess in the first place. I believe the only way to create an economy built to last is to strengthen the middle class, asking the wealthy to pay a little more so we can pay down our debt in a balanced way, so that we can afford to invest in education, manufacturing, and homegrown American energy for good middle-class jobs. Sometimes politics can seem very small, but the choice you face, it couldn't be bigger. I'm Barack Obama, and I approve this message.
So you were saying before that this is perhaps a reaction to a feeling that maybe they'd gotten a little too negative, and that in fact the negative views of the president have been creeping up.
Definitely. I mean, we saw that in our poll, and they were concerned within the campaign that that was happening, and so they saw them do this ad. And the interesting thing about this ad is, like the negativity has kicked up so early, this is such a powerful tool to have the President of the United States looking directly into the camera and talking so positively directly to voters that you wonder, you know, if they're using it this early, how effective it's going to be later on and as the campaign gets close to the election.
Yeah, I think that's right. But on the other hand, at some point people are going to get tired of this tit-for-tat thing. And the interesting thing is that Mitt Romney and Barack Obama really do have different visions about how to run the government and how the government's role in the economy and how much it should be trying to even out the difference between winners and losers.
Well, that's what's good about this ad. It's true in the broadest sense. Like, yeah, there is a choice here. It really is. And what I find interesting is that most campaigns start positive and then get negative. Maybe this one's doing the reverse. You know?
Well, you know, there is a perception out there, I think, that this campaign has been largely about small ball issues, not about some of the grand issues that we saw in 2008, for example. And you know, at one point in this whole contest, we saw the big question was whether Mitt Romney had left Bain Capital in 1999 or 2001. So this ad just seems to bring us back to some broader,
to big issues.
Issues.
Meanwhile, though, as we were discussing, the Republicans have a line they love that we're going to hear 10,000 more times this year, which is the takeoff point for an ad that they've built out, looking at what they say are not Obama gaffes. Let's have a look at that.
If you've been successful, you didn't get there on your own. You didn't get there on your own. I'm always struck by people who think, well, it must be because I was just so smart. There are a lot of smart people out there. It must be because I worked harder than everybody else. Let me tell you something. There are a whole bunch of hard-working people out there. If you were successful, somebody along the line gave you some help. There was a great teacher somewhere in your life. Somebody helped to create this unbelievable American system that we had that allowed you to thrive. Somebody invested in roads and bridges. If you got a business, you didn't build that. Somebody else made that happen.
The Republican National Committee is responsible for the content of this advertising.
So this, I think it's important to remember, this ad was preceded by several Republican and Romney ads that just essentially attacked President Obama for allegedly saying that business people didn't build their own businesses. This one took that and then went further and said, well, here's some other things he said that we don't like, that the Jobs Council is going to be really important and it wasn't, and that the private sector is doing it fine and it isn't. It's not what you expect of Barack Obama, that he could be attacked for gaffes.
No, I mean, he's given him a lot to work with. Maybe he should bring back the teleprompter, I don't know. But I think the reason it resonates is, on one hand, the president makes a strong argument that we're all in this together and we have to help our neighbors and all that, and that's, I think, appealing to people. But on the other hand, he does have an antipathy to business, and business has given him a lot to criticize. And I think the reason this ad resonates is that people believe, Mr. Obama's given him a lot of reason to believe that he's suspicious of businessmen, and the ad is just picking up. They're not gaffes. This is what he really thinks.
Yeah, these things always work when they're in some kind of context. You know, so like when the Democrats took a Romney line out of context earlier this year, and he quoted him as saying, "I like to fire people."
I like being able to fire people who provide services to me.
He was really talking about firing your insurance company if they're not doing a good job for you. But the Democrats took that out of context, ran with it for a while, but it worked kind of because it sort of reinforced something people kind of suspected about Mitt Romney anyway.
Well, I think there is some truth to that, and the issue is when Bill Clinton was in office, he talked about the era of big government being over. Barack Obama came into office, and we heard a very different message in 2009, which is government has a positive role to play in the economic rebound, in providing funding for research and development, in building infrastructure. So it was a very different message, and I think to some degree that's why this ad resonates, and that's why that line was picked up on to the extent that it was.
It also resonates because it cuts at the one negative on Obama, which is the economy, and it tries to build this narrative that he's out of touch and doesn't understand the economy, and it's a powerful way to do it because they're using his own words. Flip side of that is the Obama campaign hasn't started using Romney's own words yet.